Hi.
Hi, I'm Tonya McConnell, the co-host of That's My Story. I have the pleasure of speaking to Marina Orlovski today. She dreamed of being a ballerina, but her life took a whole new direction and she became a police officer. She does amazing things with it. Hear about that. Thank you for joining me today, Marina, to tell your story.
Hi, Tonya. Thanks for having me on your show.
Thanks for coming. So I'd really like to have a better understanding of who Marina is. So I'd like to really start off and talk about who you are and where you were born.
So I was born in Sudbury, Ontario. My mom was also born in Sudbury, and actually she was born in North Bay and moved to Sudbury because there was more work there as a young woman and more opportunities to meet people as well. My dad was actually born in Serbia. From a Russian father, Serbian mother, and in 1951, he was able at the age of 20 to move into Italy and come over to Canada and was able to bring his parents with him. And they settled on Sudbury, Ontario, because as we know, the mining was a very big thing, in those days as well. And it was an easy job for a young man to get, whether he be an immigrant or whether he be from the town of Sudbury. And they were able to settle there in Sudbury. Lots of friends there. My dad already had friends from the homeland that had settled in Sudbury to work in the mines. And he was able to get a place to live and was able to work. But very quickly realized that the mines were not for him. He didn't enjoy that at all. So he did go back to school and he learned about the world of finance. So my dad started working in Sudbury for a company called Pacific Finance, which actually turned into TD Canada Trust. Many years later, it had it morphed many different ways and many different times, but my dad was able to work for that company until he retired. And he stayed working and actually had the territory of the North. So he was doing Sudbury, Parry Sound, Kapuskasing, Timmins, that kind of thing. So we did move around quite a bit when I was younger, but we settled into Markham when Markham was a very small town. But my parents met at the YMCA. And that was the big deal when they were young. There wasn't, bars and clubs and things like that young people have nowadays to meet other people, even the internet, things like that people are meeting. But my parents, their social circle was at the YMCA and they were, at a dance and they met there. My mom actually had a lady, kind of like a card reader, told my mom that on a Halloween before my parents married, she told my mom that she was going to have some things happen to her and they all came true. And the third thing she said to my mom was that, see that man over there? And she pointed to my dad and she said, within a year, you're going to marry him. And my mom was like, I don't even really know this guy. Like, I'm going to marry him. Like, what's she talking about? And actually it ended up happening. They got married Thanksgiving weekend of 1957. So my dad, as I said, was moving around. They did want to find a place to settle so that we could just, be a family, be in one place, not have to move around a lot. So my dad was able to secure a position in sort of the GTA area. And we settled into Markham when I was about 7 years old. And I was able to do most of my elementary school and all of my high school there. Still had the family home till very recently. And my mom was able to work at my high school, which some might think it would be a detriment, but it actually worked out pretty good for me. I never got detention. And none of the teachers wanted to give me detention because the paperwork had to pass through my mom's office and they were kind of worried about giving Mrs. O's daughter a detention. So they never did, which was kind of cool for me. Not that I skipped. Skipping is wrong. But it was kind of one of those things where it just sort of happened that way, which was kind of fun. And a cool story about my dad and the impact that he made on his community when we lived in Sudbury is my dad was the only loan officer in the town of Sudbury at the time, so it was still fairly small, to give a gentleman by the name of Vip Palladino a loan for a car dealership that Vip wanted to start. And my dad was the only person that said yes. And Vip ended up having multiple dealerships. He became extremely successful. And I actually bought one of my first cars from Vip. I went up to Sudbury and purchased a car from him. And even as an older gentleman, he was still in the dealership. His boys had taken over the business, but it was kind of neat to see that, you know, the start that my dad gave him really grew into something so wonderful and prosperous for that family. It was really a good feeling.
Amazing. So talk to me about some of your dancing. You wanted to, I understand. Tell me about that.
When I was a young girl, I mean, many young girls are going to go and see the Nutcracker at Christmas time or Swan Lake. And I just thought, what an absolutely beautiful thing to do. Never realizing, you know, all the work that goes into being a ballerina at the time, but just watching that. And, you know, my mom had put me into a little ballet class when I was a young girl. And, you know, my grandmother, my mom's mom actually painted, and she did a painting of a ballerina many years ago that I still have. And every time I look at that, I think of me as a young girl. And that was that sort of that first real, you know, career type of grown up adulty thing that I wanted to do. And that was to be a ballerina.
Excellent. So at what point did your life career kind of change in your mind as a young child? Where are you going next?
Yeah, you know, when you're young and there are so many opportunities to do so many different things. And honestly, when we moved to Markham, there was so much more opportunity than there was in Sudbury at the time that we lived there for me to be involved in extracurricular activities. So, you know, my parents were okay. Both of them worked. My mom was working at a school. My dad was doing the finance gig. But it wasn't sort of the setup where I could do multiple activities, you know, during the year. It was like, you pick one, you're going to try it. If you like it, you'll stick with it. So when I saw that there were so many things for me to do, for instance, getting involved in brownies. I had an amazing brownie leader, which actually led me to be in guiding many years later as a brownie leader myself. And I could see the types of things that people were doing in the community, that they had that opportunity to help each other. And maybe they weren't getting paid to do it. Maybe they were getting paid to do it, but there was just an overwhelming sense of community and watching people do so many things for other people selflessly. And I thought, wow, how can I give back to my community when I'm older and I finish school? And, you know, I had to think of some kind of job and I wasn't really sure what it is that I wanted to do. And seeing a police officer in the community and, you know, never having issues with police, never, you know, having sort of that experience, always had a very positive experience with the police. And I thought, wow, like these, you know, they'd come into school and talk on career day. And I thought, wow, this could be it. This could be that community piece that I could do where I could really help my community in a wide range of different ways, because there's so many ways that we can help being police officers or being part of that first responder family. And that was really seeing that as a young person and going through my high school years and seeing what good they did in our community. It really led me to think seriously about that type of career when I got older.
It's amazing how you can have a person in your life and that one little thing kind of really impacts the direction that you're going into, right? Mm-hmm. So talk to me a little bit about, it's 1990 and here you are, this young girl from Markham, and you want to be a police officer. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so I actually had started working. I finished my college, finished high school, finished college. I was working out, I was actually an administrative assistant, secretary, as they used to be called many years ago. Now they're called admin assistants. And I was working for many different companies and noticed in our local Markham paper that there was an open hiring for police officers for York Regional Police, which they hadn't had in many years. They hadn't actually advertised for police officers. And I thought, well, this is it. This is it. I'm going to do that. So I filled out my application. I went to an open hiring. It was actually at the Tannery Mall in Newmarket. And there were hundreds of people. And I thought, oh, this is never gonna work out. Look at all these people. And you had to just put in an application form. And that whole process took me about 2 years. I had testing to do, interviews. I had a day of orientation. There was a lot of things that I had to get done. And then I was put on a list with hundreds of other people. And I would just call in to the HR probably every 2 or 3 months. They got to know me by name, got to make really good friends with the ladies in HR. They were very nice. And I would just call in and say, what number am I on the list now? And I had a little sticky note in the back of my day timer. And I would just cross out what number it was before and what number I was at on the list. And then I got a call at the end of November in 1998 telling me that I had been hired and that I would be going to police college in the winter of 1999. And it was just, I was over the moon. It was one of the best days ever. Such good news.
It's amazing, you know, this small town girl from Sudbury who dreamed about being a ballerina and then, you know, gets on this list and has to wait years to hear from them. And yet you did, and you waited for that time. It's really, you have an amazing story. And your policing career, you've done so many different things. I can't wait to hear about all the different things that you've done and how you're so passionate about all these things that you do. It's going to be amazing. So you're now on the list, you're waiting to get on, you're anxiously thinking about where you're going to go, what you're going to do next. That must have been an exciting time for you.
It was a bit stressful. Now, I did become an auxiliary officer. While I was waiting, I had a number of people say, why don't you try auxiliary? And being an auxiliary officer is a volunteer position. You get some training within the police service. You get a uniform. You don't get the same type of equipment, but you can work in your community as well as a volunteer. And that really gave me a chance to go out into the different regions of the municipality of York. As you know, we're very large, we're very vast in a lot of the events and the things that we do in each of these communities. So I was able to try auxiliary before I got the call to become an actual officer.
So I look forward to hearing about all your police officer career and all the different things you did.
Thanks.
Hi, so we're here talking with Marina, aka Officer Mo. I'm very excited to dive in and hear about her 23 years, and we're going to retire in 1 year and 9 months, but I want to hear about all of the 23 years and all the different things that you've done. So if you could just briefly talk to me about some of those things, and especially the ones that, well, they all mean a lot to you, but especially those ones that have that major impact.
Yeah, what's fantastic about policing and something that I actually didn't realize until I got onto the police service was that there are so many opportunities within the organization to grow and move around. I would see police officers, in my neighborhood or on the street, and I would think that's what they do. Or from TV shows, I would think, oh, they're that detective that goes out and, catches the robber and stuff like that. But it's, there's just so much opportunity that's been available. And I've been really, really blessed to be able to do a number of different positions within the police service. What happens when you become a police officer? We all spend about 4 years on the road as a road officer, uniform officer, going from call to call and helping emergent and non-emergent situations in our community. And after that time, you can actually apply for different positions within the police service. So the first one I had, which kind of brings me around full circle to where I am today, was being a police educator at our community safety village in Stouffville. The community safety village is a beautiful creation of a miniature village that is a training facility for youth, for them to learn about fire safety. We've got paramedics there now. We have police educators. It's just a wonderful facility. for students from all over York Region to come and learn about many different, a lot of things that they can learn there. And I was able to work there for about 2 years, and it was just such an amazing experience to work with young people, to hear their questions and how eager they are to learn, and just how inquisitive they all are about you being a police officer and what that means to their community, and how you can help people. Because frankly, a lot of things on TV just shows us chasing after people and taking them to jail. And that's not really, everything that we do. There is just so much more that we do. So after doing that, I actually moved into our media relations office, and I was a media spokesperson for 2 years. So I was able to communicate with the public through the various news agencies, whether it be CP24, CTV, whatever it was, whatever types of activities were happening in York Region. I would be the officer that they would see on TV or hear on the radio, talking about events that were going on within the community. From there, I moved on to a crime prevention officer, which is great. You can talk to homeowners, business owners about being safe in their environment. And it's always good to help people be aware of what's happening around them and how they can keep themselves safe. And then I moved to the position I am in currently, which is as a youth engagement officer. And I've been doing this position since the fall of 2015. I was in Richmond Hill for a time, working out of our 2 district. And in 2017, at the beginning of the school year, I was able to move up here to Georgina to work out of our 3 district station. And I have loved every minute of it. It's just been an absolute joy.
So what I really like about your story as well, Marina, is that not only do you work with the youth, but you also have integrated bringing 2 generations together. Can you talk to me a little bit about that and what that means for you?
Absolutely. We have a number of volunteers that work with York Regional Police, not auxiliaries per se, but adult volunteers that work with us. And one of those gentlemen, Ernie McMeekin, who unfortunately passed away since we started the program, brought to the table as a volunteer how to bring together the 2 spectrums of our community, the youth and the seniors. And thankfully with his ideas and with his vision, we were able to work together with Cedar Vale Lodge as one of our main partners in this program to bring the intergenerational program to our community.
Sorry to interrupt you. Is this Ernie in the picture, Marina?
Yes, that's actually Ernie standing beside me in the picture with one of our students and a gentleman who did work at Cedar Vale previous. We were able to make birdhouses, and the seniors were paired with a student, and they were able to make birdhouses, which are actually still hanging on the trees around Cedar Vale to this day. The birds are very active, and a lot of the residents at Cedar Vale absolutely love to see that. We also have done cooking programs. There again, Chef Corey Dern, who is very well known in the community, would run the program over at the Link with students paired with a senior, and every class they were making a different dish. We did a music program that ended up with a beautiful concert at Cedar Vale in your big room there, where we had students with seniors playing instruments and singing songs. And it was just a beautiful thing. And one of the most recent things we've done is the holiday card program, which we started last year. And part of that really came out of COVID, really with all the things that have been going on, and realizing that a lot of seniors are not able to go out and be with their families, and their families can't come and be with them during the holiday time because of the restrictions. So we reached out to our schools and had them create cards, pictures, crafts. They did all kinds of things. They really, really got into it. And we were able to deliver all of those items to Cedar Vale so that they could be given out to the residents. We were able to actually personalize them with their names. So it wasn't just to, whoever lives in room 123, it was personalized to them. And I understand from everybody at Cedar Vale that was really a hit. And it was so much that we've actually gone region-wide with the program this winter. And I'll be delivering those items to Cedar Vale in the next week or so that they can be handed out to the residents to give them some holiday cheer.
Amazing. It's so amazing that you work and you live in the community of Georgina. Can you tell me a little bit about what does that mean to you other than it's a short commute?
I absolutely love the fact that I work in my community. It is such a blessing. I mean, I have so many kids that live on my street that go to the schools that I frequent, and I'll be sitting on my porch and they'll be riding their bike and they'll be like, "Hey, Officer Mo," and I'll be like, "Hey, kids." And it's just nice that they see me in, my own personal space, but they're still respectful of what I do. They still understand, that, hey, look, she's a real person. Like, she's sitting on her porch reading a book. Like, this is so cool. Like, check this out. And it's just that being able to break down some of those barriers and have that relationship with the kids in the community, that they can see you as a real person, not just as a police officer, and they can make that connection with you. And it really gives them a lot of peace as well to see you as a real person. And then they can connect the two.
So tell me a little bit about, have you been recognized when you've been out other than at your home? Have you been recognized out when you've been out in Georgina?
Yes, absolutely. I'll be in the Walmart and I'll hear from 2 rows over. It's like, "Hey, it's Officer Mo," and I'll then little person will come scurrying around the corner, and we'll chat for a few minutes, and it's great because it gives me an opportunity to meet their parents as well, which I don't always get to do because I'm going in and out of schools. I did have a little guy at the one of the local gas stations, and I could hear this, "Hi, Officer Mo, hi, Officer Mo," and I couldn't see him for the life of me. And then I just see this little hand come underneath a truck door and he's waving. And I went over and started talking to him, and it was just such a delight because I had my mask on, and I didn't know that he would recognize me, but he did. And that really gave me a nice feeling.
Amazing. So tell me a little bit about, you do programs with the schools to raise money. Particularly one to do with shaving your head, which you're very brave. Can you tell me a little bit about that and what that meant to get involved and the power that had?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. As an organization, we've been involved with the Canadian Cancer Society for many years, doing a head shave fundraiser where officers and civilian workers with YRP as well will go out and raise money for Canadian Cancer Society. We've now partnered with South Lake Pediatric Oncology Center, and that's where our funds are going that we are raising. So I decided to put a challenge up to my schools to say, whichever school raises the most money, I will shave my head at your school. And in 2019, wow, Sutton Public School took that challenge on. They got everyone into it from kindergarten to grade 8. They had pies in the face for some of the teachers. The kindergartens did, makeup on their teachers, and it was just a really, really joyous day. And I just really, really am thankful that I'm in a community like this where we all come together and appreciate the things that are happening in our community and working together to, donate money to those who are in a situation that is unlike any we might be in. And it's just a great feeling to see all the kids come together and work as a team on something like that.
So not only are you Officer Mo and everybody knows you like that, but can we talk a little bit about the purple hair? I see today you have beautiful hair. Can you tell me a little bit about what that is?
So how that started was really just with the pandemic and wearing a mask all the time. I was finding that the kids were, if they saw me out in the community or I came to a school, they were a little bit apprehensive because they weren't really recognizing who I was. So I thought, well, how can we make this fun? How can we make this something that they'll be able to recognize me? So that's where the purple hair came in. And I joke with my hairdresser that we're just gonna keep going a little further back as the time goes on. And one of these days, maybe I'll have a full head of purple hair. And I think it'll be quite easy for everyone to recognize me then. But it was just a fun, cute way for the kids to relate and to recognize who I am when we're out in the community.
Excellent. So what's next? What's next for Officer Mo? We're moving into a new year. Things have been so different. What do you think's next?
Yeah, just continuing with the programs that we have relating to the youth in our area, being able to talk to them about things that they're going through. You know, with the pandemic, it's been very difficult for many of the kids in the area to navigate a lot of the social issues that they're having at school, being away from their friends for so long. And we've been really helping them along the way with, you know, making good choices and good decisions, which is what a lot of our programs are about. And just staying connected with our community as much as we possibly can during these difficult times, and just continuing on and just loving every minute of it.
So we've been very fortunate that you didn't become a ballerina, because you have a huge impact on the youth in Georgina. You're a big partner supporting the school system. So is there somewhere that you could be reached if there was an issue, or a parent would like to reach out to you?
Absolutely. Parents are more than welcome to reach me at 1011@yrp.ca, which is my email. Sorry about that. That's my email address. So 1011@yrp.ca, and that will reach me directly. And if your kids are struggling, or if there's an issue, you know, that you'd like to talk to me about, please feel free to reach out and I'll do whatever I can.
It was a pleasure talking to you as usual, Officer Mo. I look forward to seeing what color of your hair might be next. And I always enjoy the impact that you have on the seniors, on the youth. It's been a pleasure talking to you today.
Thanks, Tonya. Thanks so much for having me on today.
Thank you.